All right. Hey folks. So, I just to give a little intro, I am here with one of my oldest friends, Lauren, who
Hi.
we have been friends since 6th grade. And I actually was just coming out to visit, and she was giving me the lowdown on these wolf hybrids, and she was just telling me because she works here and they're awesome. They're buddies.
Her hair.
But she was telling me about this, and I actually asked her if I could record it because this is really, really fascinating stuff, and I thought people would be interested. So, tell us more about these wolves.
All right, so Rogue is going to try and chew on your hair, and I'm not going to let her. So these guys were bred to be educational ambassadors because it's really important for people to know that they are fascinated by your hair right now.
It's fascinating.
It is
hair.
fascinating. It's beautiful. It's rainbow colored.
It is. Look at that mouth.
They were donated to our facility to help raise awareness about these guys and their important position in our ecosystem. They're super important. They help keep species like deer and elk in check. And that cascades down all the way down to bugs in your river bottom and, the health of the salmon in the area. And they're just a keystone species. They're super integral to everything that happens in this environment. And so their purpose here is to help people create that connection with them. It's one thing to hear on the news about wolf conservation and that. It's another thing to meet Rogue and Tacoma, who are,
drinking some water.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
thirsty. Too much excitement. And so they'll live their entire lives here as wolf ambassadors. And it's a really important job because, we get a lot of kids through here. And if they get to meet Rogue and Tacoma or our other two hybrids, Agnes and Argo, that's a relationship they carry. Hopefully, I know it would be for me for the rest of their lives. And so when it comes to protecting their habitat and protecting, their place in our ecological systems, they have a really important job here.
And and they are truly beautiful. And let's see if I can get. Look at you! Look how pretty you are. Oh yes. And speaking of even just the impact they make on the environment and ecological, not even just the food chains, but ecological landscape. There's a really interesting YouTube video. My hair. There's a really interesting YouTube video that people can check out as well. About. And I can link it later.
Wolves in Yellowstone?
Yeah, about how they actually changed the
Alright, let's stand up.
about how they actually changed the course of the river just by wolf reintroduction, by changing the impact of how many prey animals were where they were feeding, and the course of where they were going, and things like that, and how the grasses were affecting the river flow, and going back to kind of the way it had originally been before the wolves were, removed from the area in a more unnatural format. So
Yeah, it's cool. The rivers, instead of being really wide and shallow where they had been trampled by, an overabundance of elk and deer and other sort of prey species, once the wolves have brought that into more of a natural balance, the brush is allowed to grow up over the rivers. The rivers get deeper. They get cooler, which is better for spawning things like salmon and that kind of thing. And it actually brings the whole ecosystem into a much healthier balance just by introducing that one keystone species.
one, we all learn in school about just like the food chain and the delicate balance of nature, and it's, when you take one of those things out of balance, it's a very true thing. And then that is one of the reasons why it becomes so overgrown of one particular kind of thing, like overabundance of deers, and then those populations boom and become unhealthy because
And then
there's
they
too
suffer.
many.
And then they get things like chronic wasting disease or adenovirus or anything like that. And that's, that's not good for them either. It might seem like, oh, more deer, great. But then that ends up, starving out. They end up getting smaller body size overall and that kind of thing.
But it's a really interesting video, and I'll link that too. But so tell me more about these guys. So they're hybrids. Do you know? Are they mixed with? What are they mixed with?
So the breeder of these guys actually specializes in high content. He prefers wolf ambassador.
Yeah.
Because wolf hybrid sort of implies that they were a dog bred with a wolf.
Sure.
And that's not what he does. He does have a lot of wolf genetics, as you can see. These guys are considered very high content. Another misnomer that you'll see a lot of places if somebody's like, oh, this is a 65% wolf or something. The way genetics works, that's always going to be inaccurate because genetics are independently assorted.
Right.
And so the correct term for discussing a wolf hybrid is going to be high content, mid content, or low content. So that's why I keep referring to these guys as high content. And then we have a couple other wolf ambassadors who are more the mid to low. And we see that mostly in their behavior, but also in their looks. They have a heavier body build. You can see Rogue and Agnes over here. Agnes is going to be a mid content and Rogue is going to be a high content. And you see more dog characteristics in Agnes, both in her personality, like I said, and the way she looks. But so we don't really know what these guys are mixed with because this gentleman has been breeding these to be wolf ambassadors for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So he very carefully selects who he's going to breed to whom.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
so he breeds wolf hybrid or wolf ambassador to wolf ambassador. He's
Oh,
not bringing
gotcha.
in wolf genetics or dog genetics. And so
Oh,
he's
interesting.
got
Okay.
a big herd, a lot of genetics. He crosses out to a couple other breeders in the country. There aren't that many really well-respected wolf hybrid breeders in the country, and he's definitely one of them. He works with a lot of zoos and educational facilities.
That's really cool, though.
It's a lot. It works for our facility really well because while they do look indistinguishable from wolves, they are more adaptable than your full wolf is going to be. You know, a full wolf is going to be much more stressed in human care, whereas you can see these guys they're perfectly fine.
They really like my hair.
They
So
love your hair. They got to play with your hair today, so that was a good
fun.
day. Yeah, lucky them. Right, Pumpkin? Yeah.
Right.
See?
Well, and you can. And the thing is too, like even by looking at them, like on first pass, you know, to the untrained eye, you know, I would not necessarily be able to tell this upon first look apart from a wolf.
I work
would,
with her all the time, and I wouldn't necessarily be able
Yeah.
to tell them apart.
like she is extremely wolfy in appearance. Yes. Oh, yeah. Mwah.
And a couple of those things you can see are she's got furred ears. So she says, don't touch my ears.
She's like, so we don't have that kind of thing going on.
She's got the light eyes. They've completely shed out their winter coat right now, which is another characteristic. You'll also see that in some of your more northern breeds, like Huskies, German Shepherds. Probably your Shiba blows his coat in the spring and fall pretty good.
He blows his coat, and then it like in 5 minutes it's back and it's
back.
blowing again. It's amazing.
Yep. So she goes pretty naked in the summer, and then her coat will be out to here in the winter.
Oh, wow.
And so they're gray wolves, which mean this undercoat is gray. And even on her brother Tacoma, who was born completely black, he's going a little bit silver now that he's 2. But he has that gray undercoat as well.
Now, is there a reason why he's still a gray wolf even though he's black?
Yep.
Okay, so is that just kind of a variation that happens?
Well, they've all got the gray undercoat, and that's just their species.
Okay.
Another thing you can see that she's demonstrating really well right now is they have bigger paws than you would expect to see on a dog her size. She's actually not that
Very big, yeah.
But her paws are the paws of a much bigger dog, and they also turn out at an angle rather than being straight on.
Yeah.
And that's reflected in their gait. If you see a wolf run, they have a long, loping gait, and you'll see that when they run, they can go like that all day.
Yeah, well, and I imagine too, just even by the very nature of them having to, you know, I mean, like with people from old-timey people from way back in the day having to like outrun prey.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, with that was our method.
Yeah. And they cover pretty large areas in the wild. And Tacoma's tired.
They're very, like, just to really quickly iterate, like, we so one of the things I had the great honor and opportunity to see earlier were a couple lynxes.
Eurasian
a couple
lynx.
Eurasian lynxes and a cougar. Yeah. And they were rescued. There's a lot of animals here that were rescued as like exotic pets and things, you know, from hoarding situations and things like that. Just as a small side note, exotic pets are not they're not things that one should really have as a pet.
Dogs, cats. We were talking earlier. Rats.
Rats-
make super good pets. They're
they're-
really social. They're really sweet.
They are also very domesticated.
Yeah,
There
they
have been
are.
many, many years spent in domesticating these animals, and also the amount of space. Like dogs, cats, they are meant, and there are hundreds upon thousands of years going into their genetic material, allowing them to be comfortable around people and not needing like acres upon acres of land.
And this is a 15-foot, I think at least a 15-foot fence, and we do have a hot wire running across
Yeah.
the bottom, and they need every inch of it. Rogue likes to climb. She can also jump about, I would give her probably an 8 to 10 foot jump.
That's a really tall jump for.
She could go right over your backyard fence, and she wouldn't look back. She'd be mild. You know that run we were talking about that they could do for miles and miles and miles. She'd be pretty far away by the time you caught up with her.
You know, and the thing is too, even like big cats and stuff like that, like we were talking earlier, like, you know, the things that your small cats do that are cute and fun, like imagine that being, oh, I don't know, like 10 times the size and power. Like it becomes much less fun and much more dangerous, you know. And the same thing with like wolves and wolf hybrids. Like dogs are engineered, and I use that word specifically, dogs are engineered to please people. That is what they're meant to do. And even like I have a Shiba, Shibas are less engineered to please people, and it can be very frustrating because they don't want to please you. They want to do what they want to do, so they're very hard to train. And so that means that they will not do what you want them to do, and animals that are more independent and less domestic will not do what you want them to do, and that causes a lot of stress in that they will chew things, they will bite, they will, you know, I mean, it's not a good situation for pet type scenarios, so just throwing that out there.
And one of the biggest complaints we hear, because we get a lot of calls for people either looking to rehome their wolf hybrids or alternatively asking our advice on how to train their wolf hybrids or how to live with their wolf hybrids. Two of the biggest complaints we get, one is fearfulness. So people get wolf hybrids because they look intimidating and think, oh, this is going to make a really good guard dog. Absolutely the opposite. They don't have to be faster than the intruder, they just have to be faster than you. They will be out that back door faster or hiding under your bed because that's what works for them in the wild. That's advantageous. There's no need to stick around, you know, a scary new thing when you could just as soon be out. And so they're very fearful of new things. They're neophobic. They don't, it takes them a lot longer to adapt to anything new. So we do a lot of enrichment here at our facility, which means we add things to their enclosure that are new every day. And these guys, sometimes it'll take up to 24 hours before they approach something as benign as like, we'll put a Christmas tree in here or something like that, and they won't go within 10 feet of it for maybe the first day.
To be fair, Christmas trees can be very scary.
They're a little scary. I'll give them that. And so that can be really difficult when this animal lives in your house. You know, you buy a new couch and all of a sudden your dog won't come in the living room for a month, you know, or you have new people over and they're incredibly stressed and worried. So that, as well as the escapism, they're really, really good at getting out of all but the most intensive enclosures. So we get, you know, a lot of things that people go into having this wolf hybrid as a pet with the best intentions, and then they realize maybe I should have gotten a German Shepherd or something like that.
Right, and there are domestic breeds that look like wolves, that are completely domestic. So if you want that look, like
white German Shepherd that we go places all the time, they're like, oh, he must be wolf. No, he has no wolf.
Right, and again, like I use a Shiba as an example, like. And anyone who's dealt with rescue dogs will be aware of this. Like, it took the dog 6 months before he would willingly approach my husband. And while that was kind of fun for me, it was not fun for him. And him being my husband, the dog was fine with it. But, you know, but like he does not want to approach guests whenever we have somebody who watches him every single time we're out of town. And every single time this person walks in the house, the dog looks at him like he is a ghost. And he has spent so much time with him. And like every single time it's like, dude, I don't know you. You're a stranger to me, you know? So it can be very frustrating. So the things to think about. Things to think about, you know. But yeah, it's...
Dispatch to clinic.
Oh my. something fun going on in the clinic. Well, and honestly, that makes me think too. I watched this video about this guy who owns a crow, like either a crow or a raven, and I like people who are well trained in the owning of wild animals who, or I guess exotic pets that are wild animals. That's what exotic pets are. They're wild animals. People who actually are trained in this and who have the qualifications are going to be the first people to tell you, like, don't do it.
You're so right about that. Everybody that works here, I've been working with Rogue pretty much every day for the last 2 years, and I have so much respect for her. I have an incredible relationship with her. Would I ever own a high content wolf hybrid? Not in a million years. I love my domestic dogs. They're wonderful for at home. I'm really privileged to get to work with her. She's incredible, and you'll find that that's the opinion of everybody that works here.
Right.
The more we work with things like mountain lions and, our exotic birds like eagles and crows and things like that. At home, we like our domestic pets.
Right. Well, and like the thing that this guy said too was just like, he's like, crows are very intelligent and get very bored, and they're intelligent enough that they will do things to aggravate you because they know that it will aggravate you and it amuses them.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're ready to have something living in your house that lives to aggravate you, okay. And if
Not
you want to
mention
live
all
that
the
way,
legal permitting that you have to
Right.
go through.
but you could also just get a roommate who is really annoying,
That'd be better.
and it would take less permitting. So there is that. You could put an ad on Craigslist and probably accomplish the same thing.
Annoying roommate wanted.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, these animals are incredible. And do you want to, I guess for people, so this is in, I know that we're near Ashland. We're in Oregon.
We're outside of Grants Pass, Oregon.
We're outside of Grants Pass. It's
Wildlife Images.
Wildlife Images. It's an animal rehabilitation center. I guess in case anybody's out this way, it's a really cool center, and people can actually come and walk through and take a peek at all the animals and stuff and learn more about the creatures and stuff.
Yeah, come meet Rogue and Tacoma.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like anybody who's in the area, I would highly recommend. You can meet Lauren, who is amazing. She knows everything about everything. And
Hardly.
well, and I've had the opportunity to meet a couple other people out here, and like everybody really cares about these creatures, and everyone's being very well taken care of, the people included.
We're a nonprofit, and so all of us that work here because we love it. So
yeah, and it's really incredible. It's a great opportunity to just see the animals that are being that people can be educated about, and there's also a lot of animals behind the scenes that are just being rescued and cared for and then released back into the wild too. So even if you're not out in the area, check them out online. Imagine there's
absolutely.
a website.
There is wildlifeimages.org.
So check it out. It's really cool. But thank you for coming along the street, Lauren. Thank you so much for sharing about
Absolutely.
these super cool
I love these guys.
creatures that ate my hair. So.
Yeah, now they're tired.
Now they're
Midday nap
tired.
time.
They're tuckered out now, so they're down there somewhere.
Rogue really blends in down there.
He does. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll be back at some point.